Assalamualaikum and welcome back to Scientia's Women in STEM series. Today I'm joined by the widely respected Dr. Sarah Qureshi. Dr. Sarah is an aerospace engineer from Cranfield University, a hobby pilot, and the CEO of Pakistan's first research and development airplane engine company. She is also famous for establishing an eco-friendly plane engine, working with her father as a patented inventor, and has received multiple awards for her work. Welcome, Dr. Sarah. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you.
So first of all, I think let's start with what you do because it's hard to understand a personality um, unless you understand what they've made an impact with. And I know you have contrail-free engines, so if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, basically, I'm an aerospace engineer and I've specialized in aerospace propulsion, which means power plants for jet engines, like power plants for aircraft, like jet engines or other power plants. And what I do is I do research and development on different kinds of jet engines. And we have two streams of work. One is on large transport um, aircraft engines, like the commercial cruise liners, which are used for long distance travel. And the purpose is to make the engines of such aircraft eco-friendly, emission-free, um, so that they don't contribute to global warming in the world. And my other stream is working on small turbojet engines for drone applications because we know that drones and air taxis are gaining mobility, and there's a new concept of urban air mobility with air taxis and drone applications of all other kinds as well. So I'm working on engines for drones too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And I've seen your TED Talks, and you mentioned for the contrail-free engines that
Mhm.
they counter a problem that people might take for granted and in such an intelligent way. So I think maybe we could elaborate a little bit on that because it may not be.
Yeah, basically, you see, when we one issue is that it's like they're giving out pollution or emissions or smoke in the sky, which is hidden. So it's not something that is visible on the ground like other emissions are from the industry or other activities on planet Earth. Uh, and it's aerospace is a very niche industry. It requires very specialized knowledge. So it's a phenomena that's happening. It's the only industry operating in the sky and a phenomena that's happening in the sky. So what happens is you're burning hydrocarbon fuel um, on jet engines, and they produce carbon dioxide and water vapor as two byproducts. Now, this is what happens on the ground also. Whenever you burn any hydrocarbon fuel like petrol, diesel, kerosene, wood, this is what you get. You get carbon dioxide and water vapor as byproducts. Now, because we are on the ground and we are at 1 atmosphere pressure, that water vapor is just like steam that passes away, that recycles into water as precipitated rain or as dew drops. It's just part of the weather. It becomes part of the weather cycle. But unfortunately, and carbon dioxide remains there, and we know that carbon dioxide is contributing to the greenhouse effect. Now, when a similar phenomena takes place in the sky, again you are burning fuel. You are burning kerosene mostly um, in large commercial aircraft. So when you're burning kerosene, you are getting carbon dioxide and water, but um, the pressure there, you're flying at an altitude of 10,000 meters and or 10 kilometers, and the pressure there at that altitude is a quarter of the pressure that is there here on the ground. So at that low pressure, and temperature is very low also, it is almost minus 56 degrees. Here you are at around, even if at zero, or um, we are at 30 degrees positive Celsius temperature. So at that temperature and pressure, when you are releasing carbon dioxide and water vapor from jet engines, carbon dioxide remains carbon dioxide. It's released in the atmosphere. It starts contributing to the greenhouse effect, just like it is doing on the ground. But the water vapor cannot become part of your weather cycle. The water vapor just crystallizes into clouds. It doesn't even it's not it really it's released as steam. It's created as steam in the engine, but the moment it faces a very cold atmosphere and low temperature and pressure conditions, it becomes a cloud immediately. And it becomes an artificial cloud. Now, this artificial cloud is not part of the natural equilibrium of the planet Earth. So this cloud basically it's an addition to the natural clouds. It's an artificial cloud, and it's called a contrail or a condensation trail because it's basically uh, a trail of water behind the aircraft that has condensed into a cloud. And it forms like an artificial blanket cover on the surface of the Earth, and it has its own peculiar properties of opacity, of optical depth, and because of that, the way it reflects sunlight, and the way it absorbs heat is a phenomena that is causing global warming in the sky, in the atmosphere. So it's a complex phenomenon, as I mentioned that because it's not easy to study. It's at 10 kilometers above us. It's not something that we can do many experiments on until we take planes up in the air. There are many theoretical studies on it, and but it's happening there. Now the issue is that the industry. And the other thing is, as I mentioned, that it's not that, a lot of industrial contributors are contributing, that so many factories giving out smoke on the ground, so much biomass burning, biofuel burning. It's not like that. It's just one industry, and that industry also is very monopolized. It's not like hundreds of companies flying their planes in the air. Commercial transport aircraft are only made by two companies in the world, and their engines are made by three companies in the world. So
Wow.
it's almost like a monopoly. So those companies, um, they're big giants, they're big multinationals, and they can just follow whatever agenda they want to, whether they want to address this problem. I mean, they have an open choice, whether they want to address this problem or they don't want to address this problem. Because, again, as I said, that it's very specialized knowledge also, and everybody does not know about it. So sometimes when people do raise their voice, or when there is awareness around it, they can very easily dismiss it also. Governments, on the other hand, also, like scientists, they work independently, and you know that if you are a student of science, you know that for scientists, it does not matter whether they give out positive results or negative results. They're all contribution to global warming. I mean, they don't have any agenda whether contrails are adding to global warming or they are reducing global warming. It's just a scientific study, scientific data, conclusions, and they will give their conclusions and they will move on. That's how science works. So far, so good. Science is doing its job. There's a consensus of the scientific community that contrails are creating global warming. But because the knowledge is limited with the governments and the policymakers, uh, there isn't much effort. And also, there's lack of initiative by the companies because whenever you do something for the environment, in a way, it's a penalty. Like, we are making the environment cleaner, but in monetary terms, it's a penalty. Maybe they have to, their profits will be compromised. They will have to spend more to build that kind of an engine. So this is the issue with the aviation-induced global warming in the sky.
Yeah, and it's
Uh,
such an interesting problem because people look at the trails and they're like, wow, that's so cool, instead
they
of
look so cool. Yeah,
realizing
they
it's an
think they
actual
look so
problem.
beautiful. Yes.
Yeah,
Um, but they look beautiful for a while, but once they disperse and the aircraft moves away,
yeah,
they don't look that nice either. But
yeah,
but we are having serious repercussions
mm,
because of because
yeah,
of the contrails, and we've also seen that um, during COVID and times when flying was reduced, um, mean global temperatures also went down um, because of the contrails not being
mm.
released in the sky.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Um, so now we know that where you are currently and your accomplishments so far, and I know that you've gotten a lot of awards too, mashallah, and are invited to plenty of talks. So actually, I'm really honored that you are here. Um, so to understand your current self, could you tell us a little bit about your childhood, maybe your hobbies, and what your work environment, or like what your environment at home looked like as a kid?
Okay, we had both my parents were scientists, so I grew up in a very scientific environment. Um, well, at a young age, we're not able to differentiate, but now in retrospect, when I think about it, I was born and raised in Islamabad, and we had this, a lot of science around us, and both my parents were also very supportive of our studies and our schoolwork and school projects around science. Um, they never took initiative, but they encouraged us to take initiative. It was not that they would really force me to do some particular course or do this, but whenever I would take an initiative, they would be very, very supportive around it. So, my father was also a scientist, and he always had his own, other than his routine job, he always had his own lab set up. I've always seen it, uh,
At home.
when at home, yeah,
Oh, wow.
at home, wherever we were living. So there was always a small lab set up, and I've seen him working there. And as kids, it's kind of fascinating, and you explore these things. And I started working with him very early on. I mean, school days he used to help us, and even my mother with projects and science projects and studies. But I observed him working, and later, I think after my high school, when I joined engineering, I started working with him on various projects. I started getting involved, taking interest, visiting industry, mechanical facilities. Uh, so I think that was um, a bit of my invisible learning
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
domain as well.
You mentioned a pretty interesting point where you said that they would encourage or support you, but they wouldn't push that task upon you. So, do
Yeah.
you think there's a huge difference, or like how parents can actually encourage children to pursue these
Uh,
things without forcing them?
I think it's just my observation now. I see a lot of, you know, we have a lot of structured kind of trainings that you can go into. There are STEM schools, STEM summer school. There's a robotics course you can join. There is a coding school you can join as an activity. You can join a football club. So children have a lot of options. Yeah, so we really need to take initiative to be able to do something,
Mhm. And
and
I
then
know
we will
that,
support it and encouraged.
yeah, and I know that you were attached with your parents and like were able to learn all these skills and amazing um amount of exposure. So do you think
Mhm.
that's a certain amount of privilege that brought you to where you are today? Or do you think if you or someone else in your position or someone who's looking up to you does not have that support system, how they can actually begin to pursue what you have?
I think you have to make the best of your opportunities. Uh, I I mean, it definitely helped me in many ways, and obviously we know that the support and encouragement and the confidence that you get from your family is I mean there is no substitute for that. I mean that's the first thing you need. um, but even and especially if I consider this in modern times or in our contemporary times, I think the people are able to get a lot of exposure. Sometimes they are overexposed, I think.
Mm,
um, there's access to a lot of free information, free knowledge, and a lot of skill development in some ways is also, um, it's also commercialized.
mm,
There are entrepreneurship centers, there are leadership courses, there are STEM courses for kids. There are science fairs. I mean, we never had these things
mhm,
this way. I know we all like we have this Khwarizmi Science Society. There's science views. Then they have the Science Mela. I only remember we had one industrial exhibition, which was like it was a good one. It had some technical industries coming and stalls, and also the retail industry. But that was, I mean, it was limited exposure, and of course we never had internet. So I think nowadays, um, getting that kind of exposure or information is not difficult.
mhm.
Well, as far as your family support, family encouragement, family dynamics are involved, yes, that's important. That's still valid and that's still important.
Yeah. And I know that for your undergrad, you started in NUST, and at that time, I think you were doing mechanical engineering, but even
Mhm.
that path was not easy because you were, I think, one of the only girls in the department or something.
Yes, I wasn't actually, I was denied admission. I qualified on
Wow.
merit, but um, since this was the first time NUST was inducting um, female students, somebody randomly, the principal or the rector, they thought that let's not have female students in mechanical
Mhm.
engineering. It might get difficult. And so they denied admission. They put me in another discipline instead. And I had to fight my way through. And we approached again, my parents and my father was very supportive. We approached the um, director and we pushed our case ahead. But later on, I also found out that um, legally, I mean, this comes under discrimination. You cannot discriminate. I mean, this is in the law of Pakistan that you cannot discriminate based on gender. I mean, I didn't know it at that time. I could have challenged it legally, but we used ways. And then, of course, it was tough being the only girl in my class because that's not a very mature age for boys also.
Mhm.
So it was a challenging time, but at the same time, it also helped me grow in
Was
many
there
ways.
like a sort of like competition or like pressure because you forcefully got the admission, and so maybe you had a little bit of a pressure to actually be able to perform a lot better than your peers?
No, there was no pressure. I mean, it was not that I didn't deserve it and I got it. I mean, I qualified for it. I
Mhm.
deserved it.
Yeah.
It was just a wrong policy. So I was not under any kind of pressure, but um, because we didn't have like WhatsApp groups or
Mhm.
internet. There was only verbal communication. You need group projects and uh, so much, which was uh, which was challenging.
Okay, so moving
Mhm.
out from your undergrad, I believe that at this time you were also working with your father in various places and gaining exposure through that. I
Yeah.
also know that you're a hobby pilot, so when exactly did that come in? Because that's not something that most people decide to do.
I was always interested in aeroplanes and engines, and that's why I opted for mechanical engineering, and I wanted to do aerospace engineering for my specialization. And so that was, it's just that as soon as I got the opportunity, when I was doing my undergrad, I interned at a motorbike plant, I interned at a car plant, I was on the factory floors and assembled bikes and cars and test drove bikes. And then when I started after my graduation, as an engineer. I started my job, my first job in the industry. So I had some free time and some free money. So I started learning flying. This was in Lahore because Lahore had this wonderful place, Walton Airport, where they had the Lahore Flying Club. It was a dedicated airport inside the city meant for teaching flying to students and to aspiring pilots and to aspiring commercial pilots and to hobbyists. So
Wow.
it was a great environment. So that's where I started learning. I would go for my flying lessons in the morning before work and then go to work, and I was able to study for my ground exams on my own with an
Mhm.
engineering background. It wasn't very difficult.
So when you
So,
mentioned that it's like you're working full time, you're also living alone at this point. So like managing everything on your own, but then also making time to like get like
no,
a
I
sort of
wasn't
hobby
living, I
pilot.
was living with my family. I
Okay,
wasn't alone. Yeah.
okay. So that
So
must have had some
that
support.
was sorted.
Yeah.
Everything was taken care of. So I had all the time to myself, either
Mhm.
to work or to study or to do my hobbies. So I
Yeah.
had this good opportunity.
Was it difficult managing like both things side by side? Because
No,
I know that you did not go for the regular classes, you instead studied for them by yourself.
yeah, for the flying exam, yeah. Uh, they were not very, I think because they are meant for people who don't have a background of engineering or science. So they start with the very basics. So
Mm.
being an engineer, it's not, I mean, you have to study it, of course, to learn it, but it's not very difficult, you can do it on your own.
Makes sense. Yeah. How was the feeling when you first took off?
It's a very elevated feeling when the plane leaves the ground for the
Mm,
first time. You just push the stick back a bit and then it just
yeah.
gets airborne. That's a very elevated feeling.
I've done skydiving, so when they open up the hatch and you're like looking down, you're like rethinking
Yeah.
all your life decisions, but it's amazing. Um, and at one point you also went to Cranfield for your PhD. So what's the
Mm.
shift between Islamabad to Lahore to now in Cranfield?
Yeah, I was studying in Islamabad, then working for a few years in Lahore, and meanwhile also flying there. And then I shifted back to Islamabad, and I worked in Islamabad again as well. I was living with my parents, and meanwhile I was applying for different scholarships for my masters to various universities in the UK, Europe, USA, and I got a scholarship to Cranfield for my master's. And it was um, Cranfield was considered the hub of aerospace in Europe, and so I think that was the best
Mm.
choice at that time.
Yeah, and I believe that for your PhD, what was your PhD project like, and does it link to what you're doing at this point?
Yes, my PhD project was basically what I'm doing on contrail-free aircraft engines was actually my research question during my PhD. On During my MSc, I worked on air-to-air refueling of drones,
Mm.
uh, but in my master's was in flight dynamics. Um, and then in PhD, it was flight propulsion. And I mean, obviously, it's research based. So the research question was to work on contrail-free aero engines. And
Okay,
that's how I worked on the contrail-free engine that I'm working on at the moment as well.
okay. And your overall PhD journey, because I know it's hard to take like an idea and actually make it translatable to solving real life problems. So what was
Mhm.
that shift like, and what was life in Cranfield like?
Life in Cranfield was wonderful. First of all, it's a postgrad institute, so that adds a lot of professionalism to it.
Mm.
We don't have undergrad engineering or sciences, so it's just masters and PhD and postdocs. So it's more like a research-oriented work environment rather than an educational institution. So that was great. And they have 71 nationalities, so there
Wow.
was, I mean, a lot of diversity, a lot to learn from that. That in itself is a very enriching experience for anyone. Secondly, it had a legacy. That place had a heritage. It was actually a hangar or a airport and a landing strip during World War II, which was later converted into a university or a college of aeronautics. So the hangars for the planes were, converted into lecture rooms. So it had this, that kind of an environment with a lot of aerospace. It had its own airport, its own aircraft. So again, that's like a very that's enlightening in its own way. Um, it gives you like a very solid foundation on which you are working and like-minded people, researchers. So Cranfield had a great environment, both in my master's, in my
Mm.
PhD. They also gave like two flights to students who were studying about aeroplanes just to give them a feel of the aircraft and to enable them to understand better what they are studying, what they're designing, how it actually feels to be inside one of those things that you're studying about or you're working on. So, because I already had a private pilot license, so I told the instructor that I would like to do more, learn something new, and he taught me aerobatics and stunt
Wow.
flying because they had, you know, um, acrobatic trainers from World War II. So again, I think that was one of the most exciting experiences from Cranfield because that's not something you can do here, not even now. You can't, we don't have aerobatics for commercially available or for, it's just with the military or with the Air Force. So we don't have it here in Pakistan like that.
And you got to do
So
it.
that, yeah,
Wow.
sorry.
I said you got to do it, so that's pretty
I got
cool.
to do it. So it was a very unique,
Yeah.
very rare opportunity.
Yeah, and you've worked both in like a Pakistani setting and then also like in Cranfield. So what was
Mhm.
the shift in like work like or just the work environment or is there something that stood out to you that was really different in both places?
Um, Definitely there are more girls, more women in aerospace abroad than there are here. Um, well, it's not like 50-50, but still maybe there are 10%, 15%, 20%. Here it's 1%, 2%.
Wow.
So obviously that working abroad, that's a lot more relaxed. And but even here, I think I got used to it from a very early age because I was, working with my father from a young age, and also that I was the only girl in my class, and later I opted to work in the industry to become a hands-on engineer. So had to be on the shop floor. There weren't many women or any other woman, maybe one sometimes. So I got used to it, and I think most people are professional. They deal
Sometimes
with you
people,
professionally.
yeah, and sometimes people get intimidated by fields that are um like not a lot of females in them, and so they don't even pursue those careers. So what would you say to them, or like, how did you overcome this barrier for yourself?
Uh, it wasn't. I never thought that it's something to be intimidated by or something that should stop you. I mean, I never gave it much weightage. My um, perception was that what do I want to do? I want to do this. I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
I never thought that, oh, it's male dominated, it's women dominated, it's military dominated. It could be anything. I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. I wanted to build engines. I wanted to fly. I just thought I want to do these things. I made a roadmap. I was very focused. That's one thing I know, that I had a lot of clarity, a lot of focus. I knew what I wanted to do, and I also knew how I would do it, what would be my roadmap, uh, how, well, I never thought it would take this long, but I knew it will
wow.
take long. It's gonna be a journey. Because what I see in younger people nowadays, it's like they want everything to happen today and everything to happen now. Um, it doesn't work like that. Every achievement needs a journey. Every milestone um has a journey, has a story, has a long route. Um, and you have to follow the course. There are no shortcuts. Um, I started working along those lines when I opted for engineering. I was trying to gain exposure, working on projects, different projects with my father, um, going to factories, to industries, getting involved with work, whatever that were. I mean, obviously, it wasn't always engines or jet engines or cars or planes. It could be any broader spectrum of mechanical engineering or other fields of engineering, but I knew I had to, get this exposure. So I worked on those lines. I tried to, um, you know, make use of the opportunities that were available, make the best use. And um, because I read one saying, it really, it resonates with me. It said that you only regret the chances you don't take. Whenever opportunity comes across, you don't really know. It's sometimes we don't evaluate it properly. We think, oh, it's just gonna be a waste of time, or it's not worth your while, but you don't know how that would, how far it would take you. And even if it doesn't take you, it's just one opportunity, a defined um, time duration that you can risk, whether it leads to something positive or it doesn't lead to something. At best, it would lead to something positive, and if it doesn't, it's just that you would consider that you lost 2 hours, 1 hour, or whatever. So I tried to make the best use of all the opportunities that came along my way, and I maintained focus. And this is what I've done all through, even now, through as an entrepreneur, and um, through very challenging circumstances, very challenging environments, um, very challenging business environment, entrepreneurship landscape. I haven't changed my focus. I mean, pivoting is something different when you realign yourself, but it's not that I would start doing something else. I've always maintained my focus.
And talk about from coming back from Cranfield to now and
Mhm.
maintaining that focus that you talked about and taking your idea to actually launching it into something. Were you expecting that, or how was that transition like?
No, I never expected it because
Mm.
not the way it happened. Well, I knew that even as a young engineer, and even before as an engineering student, also I knew that I will set up my own company
Oh,
someday, and I
okay.
would be working on engines. And my father was also like we had this shared dream and shared passion, and we knew we will do it, although it wasn't very clear when and how that would materialize. So I was clear on that, and I knew that for that I have to complete my education. I need to work to gain experience. I need to do my PhD. Should learn how to do R&D in a PhD, and then I can think about this step. So it's gonna be a long journey. I was clear on that, but Cranfield was a bit of a roller coaster because after my master's, I came back to Pakistan. I got married, and then I went back to start my. I got my scholarship for my PhD, so I went back to start my PhD, and then I had a baby daughter. So with her, just before her birth, I managed to finish my MPhil, but when she was born, I had to move back to Pakistan for some time because my husband was here. So it wasn't it wasn't practical for me to be there and to, manage her on my own. So I came back, but because my father used to get a lot involved in my work and, to be supportive and to help me out, like doing a PhD with a baby. So we started working together, and that's when we came up with these inventions on contrail free aero engines. And after that, when my daughter started going to school, like she was old enough to join nursery or school, I went back to Cranfield to complete my PhD. I had done the research, but the thesis and the write up.
Mhm.
And that's when my supervisor told me that what you've achieved is remarkable, and this is something that should go beyond your PhD. And that's also when the first time, there was this wave of entrepreneurship. I got this exposure. Uh, I won a prize to a clean equity conference. I
Yeah.
submitted my idea, so it was like a student prize. And that was the first time I learned that yes, there are companies who are working on clean tech, and yet they are profitable businesses, because we always consider uh, environment to be like a social activity, not something that if you're working for the environment, it could be like a profitable business with a business value. So that was my first exposure to this kind of concept. And then that's when I also spelled out again to my colleagues that I want to start my own company to continue this work. And I also attended some entrepreneurship lectures at the School of Management. So then I explored, staying back and, um, you know, continuing this at Cranfield. But I mean, for a lot of reasons, I wanted to come back to Pakistan and do this here with my father. So I came back in 2017, and then, just it took us some time. By 2018, we launched this company, got
Wow.
some funds, and well, we worked towards it throughout the year, but eventually we managed to get some funding, and we were able to launch the company and, um, add on to our expand our setup with more machines, more resource,
Mhm.
more human resource, and start working full time on the project.
And it's fascinating to me how you had like this intention and like a goal, and you didn't know when it was gonna, come true, but then you were constantly picking up opportunities towards it and working your way
Yeah,
towards that. Um,
yeah, I think it's difficult to put a timeline to your goals. Well,
yeah.
you need to put a timeline. You need to have a schedule. It doesn't matter even if you are behind your schedule or ahead of your schedule, but you need to have a target timeline. It's
Mhm.
not that whenever it will happen, whenever. But even if it doesn't happen the way you plan it or at the time that you plan it, it does happen, and things change in a very um, because we are all part of a global ecosystem, so things change very dynamically. When I started working on eco-friendly engines, there was no concept of green circular economy or clean tech companies or green tech companies or entrepreneurship. It's just that when in 2015, when I finished, that's when these concepts came in, and I was able to raise funding and start my company and learn the essential skills. And even I think now, even with my work on jet engine for drones, when we started, drones weren't that popular. Nobody was looking at drone engines, and now it's when I'm done, it's literally all over the place. I mean, everybody's talking about air taxis and urban air mobility and high-speed drones.
In Pakistan.
It's in Pakistan also, everywhere,
Yeah,
everywhere in the world.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So
So
I feel like this whole journey you told me is so inspiring so far. And I know you've had goals and you've worked towards them, but there must have been times where those didn't work and you had to be flexible. Um, for example, like setting up a company in Pakistan is no easy feat. So talk about leadership or struggles that you came across or had to relearn or learn by yourself.
Okay, yeah, I think setting up a company, the most challenging thing is raising funds, especially for something which is very technical, very niche, making people understand it. In Pakistan, especially where we don't really value technology, we are basically like a consumer trade economy. We want to import things, use them, make money out of importing it. People want to buy it, and that's about it.
Mhm.
We just don't want to develop technology. And that's why we don't understand it, we don't appreciate it, we don't value it. And that's one of the reasons that in Pakistan we have such a huge trade deficit because technology is a lot of value addition. I mean, if you put your brain to developing something on your own or making it something that saves you a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort. And I've seen different industries. It sometimes it saddens me also to see the automotive industry. I mean, it's not, cars are not really rocket science. They're very doable. Car engines are very doable. I started my research with car engines, uh, but it's just our policies in the country, the mafias in the country, which don't let you work, and there's no appetite for it. There's no understanding or appreciation or encouragement for it either. Um, it's worse when you talk about aerospace. For aerospace, it's we don't even have a cluster. We don't have an ecosystem. If I'm developing something, number one, it's very expensive technology. You need a lot of funds to start with anything. So you cannot make the government understand. You cannot make the defense understand. You cannot make venture capitalists understand. Nobody understands it. It's very challenging. If you manage a bit of funds, human resource is a challenge. Um, Nobody wants to work hard. People don't want to work that hard. They don't want to study science. People who do study aerospace and rocket science, they don't just want to go abroad. They don't want to stay here or work here.
Mhm.
There's no motivation.
Do you think a reason for that may be linked to not having the work environment or the respect
वर्क
or
एनवायरनमेंट
just,
तो आप खुद बनाते हैं ना. वर्क
yeah.
एनवायरनमेंट क्या है? आई एम वर्किंग हियर. I've done international patents sitting here. I mean, that's international level work. Uh, it's I think it's not what is inculcated in the youth mindset.
Mm.
I mean, this needs a lot of soul searching. What is wrong? I keep thinking, I mean, there's a lot that is wrong here. Um, we have very good institutions, educational institutions. When I talk of engineering and technology, maybe science also, uh, very good faculty, brilliant minds, good talent. But it just all goes away. It doesn't stay here. Either we become like UK, where we commercialize education, we sell it. Okay, fine. We give good education, then we should charge a good price for it. We are not, as a country, we are not doing that. We're not charging anything for the quality of education that we are imparting, and people, you know, graduates just want to go abroad. People I train as engineers, they don't want to stay. Um, I consider it like a waste of my time and energy. Um, and even if somebody, if give them time and effort and energy, even if they stay in Pakistan, they are contributing to this country or to the economy. Not even if not with me, but still, I would say that my effort is worthwhile.
Mm.
Uh, but it's not like that. So now you know, um, as I innovate a bit, I keep the rocket science to myself, uh, and it's not worth my while to invest in training engineers because I know that uh, they would never stay. They would never. I mean, there's no payback. There's no return on investment as such.
Has
They
there
would
been
not
a
even
shift?
work for this country. Um, let alone for me, they would not work for this country.
Has there been a shift from like 2018 when you started versus now where a lot of people are getting into science communication? And
No,
I've
it's
heard from
because I've
many
learned
people.
on the way. I've learned along the way.
Okay.
When I started this company, and the lack of funds, and then I think also what I say is that my field is not just male dominated, it's
Mm.
also military dominated. That's
Oh,
where all the resources, that's where the money is, that's where um, that I mean that's where everything else is.
yeah.
And even though being a taxpayer, being a citizen of this country, I have a right if I'm doing something good for Pakistan, and but I'm not supported. I'm not able to um, you know get any benefit. I mean, they have all the high-end technology. They have all the money to get it. So everything is with them, and they're not making use of it. So that's one of my challenge. Access to high-end technology is one of my challenge. Access to good human resource, access to funding, um, and then there's a mindset that people they would still prefer something which is imported over something which is locally made, unless we
Mm.
have a policy shift in some way.
Yeah. So right now the situation seems pretty tough and yet you still work through it. So what keeps you
Yes,
going?
it's tough. It's very tough. It's not very encouraging, but I two things I learned. One is that I take it easy. I mean, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this, and at the end of the day, if it happens, I succeed or I feel, I'm just gonna make my effort, whatever I can do, and what I can't do, I'm not gonna kill myself doing it. If the environment is not conducive and this is something that is not happening, then I won't do it. I'll just do what I can do, but with clarity and with focus. So that's how I operate. Otherwise, maybe I would have given up a long time ago. And the other thing I learned is that as a woman, people say that it's very difficult to get to leadership positions. And I realized that what has enabled me to succeed is entrepreneurship. Just because I've been able to do my own work at my own pace, uh, I've been rewarded for it. If I was part of some big organization, and it still happens with a lot of government organizations or big organizations, They don't want me on board because they feel very insecure.
Oh, wow.
So, but entrepreneurship has given me this, this power, I would
Yeah.
say. It's a power
And a
that
platform.
I can, huh?
And a platform.
And a platform, yes, that I have my own company. It's a private commercial entity. I don't have to hide things from anybody, take my own decisions. I can do as much as I want, make as much effort as I want. And then there are a lot of good people
Mm.
on planet Earth and in this country who are supportive, who are part of organizations that can help, and they help. They do support. Uh, and even personally, that's my motto also. I think that anybody who's doing anything good for Pakistan, I must support that person, because at the end of the day, I'm making Pakistan a better country. I'm making it more livable for myself, for my children. I'm improving my own environment. So I do support others, and similarly, a lot of people with the same mindset or even a better mindset support me as well. And um, yeah, and I think Allah also supports you.
Yeah.
And if you're intending on doing something good and you are willing to um, make a sacrifice, uh, uh, yes,
And I know
that
that
that really helps.
from
There's a saying by, I read it somewhere, by Confucius. Sorry,
yes, you can
you
continue.
said something.
Oh, I said that around
It's
90% of businesses kind of fail because of this reason. So it's very important to have like a focused goal and keep on working towards it at your own pace. And I really love the facts that you just mentioned.
yeah, I think, yeah, because what I've seen in a lot of businesses and also in individuals is that uh, they what is lacking is uh, persistence and perseverance. It's not about talent. It's not about opportunity. It's just about navigating through circumstances. It's obviously there is no ideal world. Every country, every work environment has its own challenges, peculiar challenges, and so your success is determined by how well you navigate those challenges and how strongly you can persevere. And you need to have resilience, and how much can you maintain your focus? Because I've seen a lot of businesses, they start off with something, and in the middle, okay, it's COVID time, so okay, let's start making ventilators. And now it's smog time, let's start making air fresheners. I mean, this is not how you do rocket science. There are only 24 hours in a day. You have to follow a trajectory of professional growth and personal growth and the growth of your company
Mhm.
um, in
I think it
different
also
ways.
depends on having a good idea to start with, because if your idea, you're not doing enough work on establishing a good idea to pursue, then it can lead to people switching decisions.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So you can call it good idea, you can call it clarity, you can call it planning. I mean, it has to be, you, you must be very clear on what you are doing, how you want to do it, and what is the ultimate objective. The end goal has to be well defined also.
Mm. Just clarity and planning. I can sense a lot of that
Yes.
from you.
So that's very important.
Yeah. You were also mentioning a quote.
Yeah, the quote, I think I read it that it's by Confucius that which said that whenever you intend on doing something, the entire universe conspires to make it happen. So I felt like that many times with a lot of, when you start something and the environment starts moving in that direction in one way, or you get support from people. As I mentioned, when I started eco-friendly jet engines, I was just doing an eco-friendly jet engine, but then I was exposed to clean tech equity and climate tech equity and climate tech companies and this wave of entrepreneurship. I don't know when it came in Pakistan, but when I was at Cranfield, this was like around 2015 when things were, moving in this direction.
Still
Um,
relatively new.
hmm?
Still relatively new.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and as I said, even now,
Um, and like we've covered your entire journey so far, and for the people who've been listening till now, or maybe they're like females who are looking to pursue different careers and our focus have a goal but are discouraged by the lack of scope or lack of opportunities, like what would you tell them?
as far as scope and opportunity is concerned, I think you make your own scope and opportunity. You create your opportunities, you create your scope. What is important is that you have to follow your passion and your dream, and you have to be very certain about it. That's important. And yes, there are challenges uh, in multi-layer challenges. There are work challenges, professional challenges, social challenges, family challenges. They're all there. And your success is determined how smartly you can navigate them.
Mhm.
Because if it was in an ideal situation, then everybody would be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess try and do everything, but at like a calmer pace. Be a little bit gentle to yourself too, right?
Yeah,
Because
be
it's hard
gentle
to,
and prioritize. I mean, you don't have to kill yourself.
yeah.
Prioritize yourself, your family, your children, your health, your well-being,
Mhm.
and take it easy and keep doing it.
Yeah. Is there
And then
something?
one thing I also read in a book
Mhm.
by one leading industrialist of the country, which said that you have to, when you're taking initiative, you just focus on your task.
Mhm.
You don't run the universe, somebody else does. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't have to, if I'm making a jet engine, my job is I'm a propulsion engineer. My job is making the jet engine and making it good and workable and airworthy and to quality. If I start thinking who's gonna put it on the plane and who's gonna fly that plane and who's gonna convince Boeing and who's gonna convince, maybe it's not my job. My scope is here. I have to do my task. If the engine is ready, there will be somebody
Mhm.
to put it on the plane. There would be somebody to fly that plane. There would be somebody to put it
Give
on
it to
every
it.
single plane, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just that I have to, that in a way is a bit of overthinking,
Mm.
not over planning, but so you really have also be clear about your domain.
Mm.
What is your job?
And
Where do you
just like
stand?
before we wrap up, is there something that we haven't talked about that you really wanted to mention?
I think I have mentioned everything
Okay.
about the challenges. of what I'm doing now, my past journey, my education,
Yeah.
and one thing I will mention is that a lot is happens because of the people around you, you know, the support you get from your family, from after marriage, from your husband, from your children, from your university professors, from your mentors. It all adds up. And from your teammates, from your professional colleagues. And success is always teamwork. And it's important to give due credit
Yeah.
to everybody who's been part of your journey and who's been part of your success. That's one thing. The other thing is that we must also uh, respect each other's time. One thing we don't value is time, I think. So yeah. Um, but at the end of the day, I would say take it easy on yourself and do it. Whatever you want to do it calmly. Um, because sometimes we get too overwhelmed and then we just give up. So it's like a difficult balance.
Yeah.
Need to keep that balance.
That's amazing. That was so beautifully put. Um, yeah. I know that you were in the Lahore Science Mela, and my brother actually showed the stall on video call, and I was just like, I wish I could be there. And then I had no idea that I would actually get to interview you. So it's
Hmm. You
really,
didn't attend the Science Mela?
no, I'm
You were
I'm in
not there?
Boston, so I couldn't be there, but I was there virtually.
Okay.
Yeah, but it
Yeah,
was
we
nice.
had it was Science Mela. It's a great initiative, and
Yeah.
it's very heartwarming to see. That's what my narrative is, that like in Pakistan, we restrict whenever we talk about Air Force. I mean, aviation, we think it's Air Force. We
Mm.
talk about technology, we think it's military. It's like, we have to make it more public, more commercial, more accessible, more
Mhm.
approachable for everyone.
Yeah.
So I've had some very fine moments at the Science Mela. I saw because we had this video also of the engine firing and roaring, and I saw like this little kid, 3 or 4 years, and he's like staring at it with his eyes open.
Wow.
And then one, I think, 80-year-old person from the village. He was in a village attire, and he came and he was looking at all the stuff. So that's what the essence of science is, that um, we need to, it has to be purpose driven,
Yeah.
and
That's awesome.
we need to be clear on our purpose.
Mm. Oh my gosh. That was really nice. And thank you for giving us your time and coming here to actually talk. It was
Most
very
welcome.
nice.